Or hinayra jud ka. Hello guys, good day and welcome back to our class here in AEng 40, your fundamentals of agricultural engineering. And now, this will be the second topic for our for the finals. Okay? Nahuman na matong finals and nahuman na po na itong mga previous topics. And kalimtan na po ito nato atong previous topics. Charot lang bitaw. But hinaton ta nga katong atong mga na-discuss on the midterms would be a part sa inyong lifelong learning, especially as you being an agribusiness students. And for this morning, for this lesson, we will now proceed on another topic. We will now proceed on another topic, which is your agricultural surveying. So the goal of this lesson is basically you should first recognize the importance of agricultural surveying. And also, number two, to explain the basic principles of agricultural surveying. So let's first discuss, what is agricultural surveying? What is surveying, Daay? When we say surveying, it is an art, okay? It is an art in determining the positions of points on or near the Earth's surface by means of measurements in the three elements of space. Okay, so we are determining positions of points in somewhere at the Earth's surface, okay, by measurement. And unsa man ning mga elements of space nga atong i-measure? Your distance, your direction, and your elevation. So basically, to define more sa atong surveying word, it is the art of, number one, to measure horizontal and vertical distances between objects. So, natay duha ka objects, and if you have 2 points or 2 objects, you are going to measure the distance between the two, then that is surveying. Also, to measure the angle between lines. So we have, let's imagine we have 2 lines, 1 and 2 lines. And ato tan-awon kung unsay angle nga na-create between anang duha ka lines nga na. And also we can determine the direction of lines. So, and last is to establish points by predetermined angular and linear measurements. So that is surveying. So that is how you define surveying. It is an art again. And now we have 2 classifications of surveying. You have your plane surveys and geodetic surveys. So what is the difference between the 2 classifications of surveys? So basically, when you are talking about plane surveys, when you are considering, when you are measuring an area, you are just assuming that that area is plane. That area, wala siya mga elevation or wala siya mga depression. You assume that that area is only plane, okay? And you are not considering the spheroidal shape of the Earth. Di ba ang atong Earth, ang shape niya kay spheroid. So if you are going to measure a certain area dira sa atong Earth by using plane surveys, then you are not considering the curveness of the Earth kung plane surveys ka. But dito sa atong geodetic surveys, dira na nagi-consider ang atong pagka-spheroidal sa atong Earth. So, kaning geodetic surveys these are surveys in a bigger scale. Okay? So kung dako ning area ang atong gi-cover, atong gi-measure, then if that area covers a considerable amount of curve dira sa atong Earth, then importante na nga i-consider na ang curveness sa atong Earth sa pagkuha ng area. And that is your geodetic survey. So again, the difference sa atong duha is your plane surveys, your area is just assumed to be flat. But again, in reality, your area is not flat because it has, especially when we are here at Earth, you have to consider the curveness of the earth. That is why ang atong geodetic surveys mas accurate siya nga method of or classification of surveys because it also kanang include the curveness of the earth. Okay? So, now, what are agricultural surveys? We already have defined surveying. We already have known the importance of surveying. And karon, what is agricultural surveying? So basically, you are applying surveying in agriculture. Okay? Agricultural surveying is all about measuring and calculating accurately, take note of the word accurately, the areas of the various fields in the farm. And also to locate buildings and other farm structures. So basically, you are applying again your surveying in agriculture. So imo lang gibawaan ang areas sa mga fields sa farm and imo lang gi-determine kung asa nga point sa imong farm gipangbutang imong mga structures. Mao lang na ang atong agricultural surveying. It is also preparing, it also lets you prepare a good map setting for the relative size and positions of the fields, buildings, and fences, and indicating the drain. So, if you have a good survey dira sa imong agricultural nga land, then most likely, you can prepare a better nga agricultural land nimo. Kay kung na picture out nimo or imo gi-measure daan ang imong land area, then you have that capacity to plan out kung asa nimo ibutang ang imong farmland, kung asa nimo ibutang ang imong structures, or kung asa nimo ibutang ang imong mga drainages or ang imong mga irrigation canals. So that is how important agricultural surveying is. Okay? So, pero naigisulti dire, why is agricultural surveying important? So daghan, we have 4 importances of agricultural surveying. Number 1 is you as an agribusiness nga professional, you can determine accurately the yields of various crops grown. So unsaan man na? So for example, if you already know how big is your field and how many plants you can plant to that field, then you can think ahead or you can calculate ahead pila ang imong yield anang imong farm or pila imong yield atong imong gitanom sa imong farm. Okay? So that is one of the importance of agricultural surveying. Number 2 is you will be able to divide your farm into fields to facilitate a system of crop rotation. Unsa man ni? So basically, if you have a big area of farm and you think that it would be much better for you to plant numerous crops in your field, then by surveying your agricultural land before and dividing that area into smaller areas nga imo ipangbutang imong plant, that will be an advantage for you. Kay ngano man, there are certain crops that will grow at a certain season. And kung dili pa na season, then pa na siya may tubuan na. So you can create a crop rotation. So ani nga certain nga season, kani siya maayo ang itanom nga tanom. Unya diri na pod wala pa na siya gipang tanom dira kay gi-fertilize pa ang soil. Kay it is not recommended for a certain area of land nga kanunay lang siya tamnan. So na-time nga barren pa na nga soil kay nagdawat pa siya nutrients. Nya ang katong pikas nga soil nagtubo na. So na-rotation sa imong scheduling sa imong pagtanom. And that is also important for you mao nang mag-agricultural surveying ka para makibaw ka kung mao to. Mao na tawo gi-discuss. Number 3 is you can direct the work of the farm more easily. So if you already know well the dimensions of your farm or the areas nga asa nimo gipangbutang imong structures and whatever, then you can easily direct better sa anang imong farm. Okay, kay the more you know your farm, especially kung unsay gipangbutang nga mga kuan nga areas that sa imong farm, then the more you can easily manage that farm. And last is you can make a study of the most convenient arrangements of your fields and buildings. So that was what I have said earlier nga kung kibaw ka, kung naka-measure ka sa imong land, kung naka-survey ka sa imong land, and naakay plano sa imong land, then with that plan nga naa nimo, it can greatly help you sa pag-plan out unsay imong ipang butang, kung unsa nimo pag-arrange ang imong mga farmlands and farm structures and whatever. Okay, so those are the 4 important reasons why is agriculture surveying is important. So let's proceed to the principles of surveying. Generally daw, the work of making a survey involves 3 stages of operations. So for you to conduct a survey daw, you should undergo these 3 stages of operations. Number 1 is measuring and recording distances and angles. So that is the basic definition of your surveying. You are measuring distances and angles, including the use, the area, and the adjustments of instruments used in the survey. Okay, so obviously, when you are going to measure a certain area, you should have an equipment para imo i-measure ka ng area. Then, basically, before ka mag-measure ka ng area, before ka magamit na ng equipment, you should make sure that your equipments are functioning well. They will do the job that they are supposed to be doing. Okay? Number 2 is to draw the tract that was surveyed to a suitable scale or proportion. So after you have measured that certain area, well, obviously, dili lang kako to mag-measure, and so now you will draw that certain area to a blueprint or a paper para ma-drawing nimo sa scale sa adtong imong farmland. And after that one, then you will calculate the areas of the tracts that you have surveyed. So, yung ana lang. Measure ka, i-draw nimo, and then kuha nimo ang area. Okay? So those are the stages of conducting a survey. And now, what are the different methods in measuring? So, as surveying has grown, sa una siguro the methods of surveying are just very simple, pero as years have gone by, then naanatay mga technology in order for us to measure a certain distance a lot easier compared than before. So karon let's discuss what are some methods in measuring. But first, let us discuss methods in measuring horizontal distances. First is basically you have your pacing. Unsa man ang pacing? Well, mo na itong giingon na pace factor. So all of us has that pace factor, and that will be our laboratory exercise for this week. We have to determine our pace factor. Pero we don't have enough equipment, so unsaan man na to. Okay, so unsa man ang pacing di ay? So if you know your pace factor and you want to know a certain distance, you want to know unsay distance nako from here to that point dito, tanawa dito, to that point dira sa atong kahoy. So ang atong buhaton, kung wala man jud tay tape measure or wala tay anything nga instrument to measure sa atong kuan pace factor ay to measure sa distance anang kuan, so mo aning pinaka most basic nga measuring equipment na dili siya equipment kay wa man tay equipment gamit. So pace factor, so basically ang imo lang buhaton is to count the number of steps sa imong pagpadong didto sa atong point nga imong ganahan measurean. Di ba nag-measure ka from the point kung asa ko nag-start og tindog padong diri sa point diri sa ubos. So let's say if I count that the number of steps that I have pagpadong diri is siguro 30, wala ko nag-ihap, and you multiply it by your pace factor, then you can get the estimated distance from that point to that point. Okay? So yung ana, mo nang atong giingna nga pacing. So we measure the distance of 2 points by using our pace. Okay? Number 2 is taping. So kaning taping, mura nagkana bang sa tong first yaya kanang mag-video ka dili bitaw na mao. So ang kaning taping basically, di ba nakabantay mo ng tape measure? Siguro nakabantay mo ana sa most common siguro na sa kanang mag-measure ka sa lawas. Pero napatigi ingon nga tape measure para diha sa atong tag-as nga areas, especially naunta tay mga equipment ana diri sa department pero di man ninyo magamit nila sa atong mga panimalay. So ang ganing taping di ay is basically you are using a tape measure to measure. Wala man tape diri, sayang no at nung tagida, pero whatever na atay video diri pa unsa na pagguan ng taping. And number 3, we have your tachymetry. Unsa man po ning tachymetry day? It is basically an instrument to determine quickly a distance, a bearing, and elevation of distant objects in surveying. So basically, kani murag distant na ni nga mga distances. And when you're using tachymetry, you are using theodolite. Ka-familiar mo lang theodolite, kanang ipanggamit sa mga surveyor, and then ila itanaw sa kanang certain nga equipment. So, and then dito sa pikas kay na nagunit og kanang taas nga bar. So, mo na atong giingon nga tachymetry. Number 4, you have graphical and mathematical methods. Number 5, you have mechanical devices. What are some mechanical devices that can measure distances? You have odometer. Diba sa kana atong mga motor, hindi mo kuana na odometer reading ng atong motor. So kung mag-travel na siya at a certain distance, diba na odometer din nga mag-change a number of kilometers. So that is what you call, those are some kinds of mechanical devices. And your photogrammetry. Okay, so those are the 6 methods in measuring horizontal distances. And now, we also have different methods in measuring vertical distances. Number 1, your direct or split leveling. Number 2, you have your reciprocal leveling. Dira ka girl. Your reciprocal leveling. Number 3, your profile leveling. Number 4, your trigonometric leveling. Number 5, your stadia leveling. 6, barometer leveling. 7, cross-section leveling. And last is your barrow pit leveling. So sadly, we won't be discussing those things that deep because those are topics that are more focused on your geodetic engineers. Okay, so but those are the 8 methods in measuring vertical distances. Okay? So, mo to, nga to pag-measure sa atong mga horizontal and vertical distances in surveying. Okay? And now, let us discuss errors. What are errors man di ay? So basically, an error is defined as the difference between the true value over the measured value. So, di ba, we cannot perfectly measure a certain distance. But we can assume nga na mas accurate adto nga pag-measure adto nga distance. So, for example, naatay pacing ug naatay tape measure. Asa may mas accurate og measurement anang atong pacing ug atong tape measure. Makaingon siguro ta mas accurate siguro ang tape measure, right? So, let's assume that that tape measure siguro kalima nimo gibalik-balik og measure at mo to atong gi-assume nga true value. Okay? But again, we cannot be certain that that true value is actually a true value kay naay mga factors pod nga maka-affect pod sa length sa atong tape. And then, katong atong gi-paste nga kuan nga value mo tong atong measured value. So, when you determine the distance sa kadtong imong gigamit og tape measure minus sa distance nga imong na measure gamit sa imong paste factor, then that is your error. Okay? Pero moingon ta siguro, how about kung mag-tape measure ka o mag-theodolite ka? So asay mas accurate? Let's say siguro ang theodolite ang mas accurate. So imo na pod i-determine ang error. So ang theodolite na pod imong i-assume nga true value and ang imong tape measure ang imong measured value. So and the error is that one and whatever. Okay? Now, what are the sources of errors? Asa man ka makakuha og errors? Asa man ka masayop? Diba? Kaya ang mga tao kay hilig man jud mangitag sayop. So karon ato pangitaan asa da ita masayop sa ato pag measure og distances or elevation or angles and whatever. So number 1 is your instrumental. Unsa may pasabot aning instrumental error? Basically, these are surveying errors that arise due to the imperfections of your instrument or faulty adjustments of your instrument. So for example, na kay theodolite nga gubaon. So, will you expect that that theodolite will accurately read your measurement? Well, you cannot guarantee nga accurate ang reading anang atong theodolite nga gubaon. So, that is where your instrumental nga error will occur. Okay? Number 2 is your personal error. So basically, from the word personal, these are errors nga gikan sa human error lang. Sa pagkatanga sa atong surveyor. Okay, for example, siguro nag-measure ang atong surveyor og distance and ang na-measure unta sa tinuod is 175.3. But ang pag-take note sa atong nagtanga nga surveyor, iyang nabutang is 170.3. So, siguro na nga ang mga kasaypanan. Samot na kung na-stress ang atong surveyor, kung nag-online class lang ang atong surveyor, then probably ana ang atong angkuan, ang ilang basta mo to. Okay? And last is your natural error. What's po ni natural error? It is basically error in surveying that is due to the variations in natural phenomenon. Phenomena such as temperature, humidity, gravity, wind, refraction, and magnetic unsa pa man ni declination. So unsay pasabot ani? These are errors that are beyond the capacity or sa kakayanan sa tao. Di na niya ma-control ng mga errors. For example, nag-tape measure ka. Kaya, sa time ninyo nga pag-tape measure ninyo, arang inita. Unsa may tendency sa anang atong object kung mainitan? Diba, there is a tendency that object, the size of that object will increase whenever the temperature of its environment is increased. So, kung mag-tape measure kag warang inita, there's the tendency sa imong tape nga mo-elongate siya. So, ang 5 meters ang 5 meters sa imong tape measure kung init kay mas taas kaysa 5 meters sa imong tape kung bugnaw. So that is one of the factors that can affect or is a source of your surveying error. We also have wind. Again, example na po sa atong pag-tape measure, kung kusog ang hangin, there will be a bigger nga sag, di ba? Kay mapalid man ang atong tape measure unya. Moing ana siya, moing ana na noon na kay gipush sa hangin ang atong tape. Then that can also be a source of error. Or refraction siguro sa sun. Kay di ba kabantay mo? Kabantay mo kung init kay mag-wave-wave man ang mga layo nga mga areas, di ba? Na yung mga wave-wave nga mo refract ang light or whatever unsa banaoy. So, that can affect the reading of the surveyor. Kay di niya maklaro kung unsa to reading sa pikas. Okay? So, those are natural errors. Those are errors that can't be controlled anymore by humans. Okay? So, that's it for this morning. We have discussed the definition of surveying, the importance of surveying, what is agricultural surveying, how important is agricultural surveying to agriculture, and what are the stages of operations in your surveying, and the methods in measuring horizontal and vertical distances, and also we have discussed errors. Okay, so I hope that you have learned something for this meeting, and I hope that this can also help ninyo sa inyong professional life in the future. So, thank you for listening again, and again, see you on the next meeting. Peace!